We could have the minutes and reviewing of the minutes and approving the minutes. They can review what they do. I'll let you guys decide. Okay. Do we have Mr. Byers? Okay, Sue Ransom.
Can we start?
Yes.
Okay, welcome everyone. Can you hear us, see us? Okay, great. So,
Thanks, Charlie.
I
Got it.
got it. Okay, great. So I'm gonna chair this meeting. We have quorum. I guess the first thing I want to do is maybe go through the public statement, basically on testimony, how testimonies are being submitted. Generally, we ask the public sign up for testimony or write in or somehow notify the county. And generally, we take the testimony or comments, I should say, from the public in the order in which they were written. For us, I think today we have at least one person present. During the rule basically you give your testimony up front, and then we get into the agenda. So all public testimony is taken up front. And I don't mind sticking with that. I think we should, but when we get into the topic for which the public testimony is pertinent, then I always allow some liberal discussion from those who actually might have testified before, because then there's discussion. So I just wanted to let folks know that. So it's in line, I think, with what I have usually done. The interactive conference technology, do we need to go through that? No. Okay, so call to order, roll call. Let's take our members first. So I'll go first. I'm Charles Young. I'm chairing this meeting. I'm from Kealia in South Kona. Nancy, you?
And Nancy Pasicchio, I live in Keaho, and I'm one of the CDP Action Committee members.
I'm John Pelletier. I'm a CDP Action Committee member. I live in Kalawa, North Kona.
We have some folks online.
Heather Karate, I live in Kealakekua Bay, and I'm an Action Committee member.
And
David Huerta, Action Committee member. I live in Coloco.
okay, yeah, and that's the 5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. So I might ask staff here first to introduce themselves, and then staff online.
Aloha, Janice Hasa with the Planning Department.
Jessica Hip with the Long Range Planning Department.
Hello, everybody, Marian Palma with the Planning Department here in Hilo. We also have on the Zoom one of our newest planners, Cavello, right there.
Hi, everyone.
There we go. We also have Tiara, a Planning Department staff also on the Zoom. And Bethany Morrison also with planning staff here on Zoom.
You want to introduce this?
Sure. Aloha, Deputy Corporation Counsel Susanna Giapula, present in Kona. And I'm standing in for Deputy Corp Counsel Michelle On, who is assigned to the Kona CDP just for today.
Okay, thank you. So it's kind of been my thing where I usually start the meetings with a level no AL. So I thought about this one as being maybe pertinent. E pukua kani aina. And what that means really is translated means a coral grows into an island, which we know it doesn't. But it's sort of a metaphor for being persistent. And I think this is, something that our committee has been over the years through a lot of things. So I think it's just, we're gonna have to be a little bit more persistent as we go through the changes that are still coming up. Okay, so the next item is Bethany gonna do the update before we do the minutes then?
Yeah, according to the agenda.
Yeah, according to the agenda. So Bethany?
Good afternoon, Action Committee members, and Charlie, nice to see you. I just wanted to jump on and provide you guys a brief update of where we are with the update to our general plan and the process. So let me just share this screen. I don't have a ton of slides, but just to give you a little bit of a update here. So we began the update to our general plan in 2015, and we've been sort of engaging with you folks along the way. In September, we released our current draft that's out for public review and comment, and we embarked on a pretty ambitious engagement strategy. And so this is just to give you a rough order of magnitude as to how many people we've been reaching and the type of engagement we've been doing. So we produced some video series, posted them to our YouTube channels, and have over 1,000 views on those. We've been doing social media posts along the way to keep people engaged, and our average post reach is about 166 people per post. We had the two main workshops, one in Kona and one in Hilo, with the participation 15 Kona and 60 in Hilo. And then since those workshops, we've been doing a variety of online workshops and also coming into community. We've been invited into several different community organizations, and as well as larger community events where we did some informational booths. And so you can see sort of the reach that we've made there. The comment period is open until March 1st. And we are welcoming comments through our Conveo platform, which I think you guys have been briefed on already. But that is a really nice, transparent process where people can see comments and interact with those comments. And then finally, people are also emailing us comments that, maybe they're not able to access the platform or they don't prefer the platform. And so we are entering in those comments as well. And for Kona, we have received, you guys get the gold star, 438 comments from North Kona out of 954 so far. And then South Kona, we have 44 comments. So really together, you guys are making up 50% of the comments that we've received on the draft so far. So kudos to those who have been engaging and providing feedback. But we still have plenty of time until March 1st to get those comments into us. And Charlie, I'll take any questions from the Action Committee you guys might have.
Yeah, Nancy?
Can you hear me, Bethany?
I can.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. In about the 6th or 7th of November, we had an email exchange and April was involved, and I talked to Charlie about it, that you would give this committee specifically sort of a general plan overview as far as aspects of the general plan that might most impact Kona. And you agreed to do that. I thought that's what this presentation was going to be, but I guess it isn't. So is there still an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nancy, if I missed the ball. I literally just came back from vacation today. And so I've just been working on catching up to speed. Yeah, I think that the things that I would encourage you folks to be engaged in is really on the mapping component. We have in the platform, we have only 8 mapping comments from the Kona area. And so I would encourage you folks to sort of dive into there, because I feel like that's the area based on the comments we got in 2019. That's the area where we really need folks to chime in and let us know if we have missing information or if things just don't seem to be lining up. The other component I would suggest is, I've done a lot of research or outreach with different chambers both the Kona Kohala Chamber and the East Side Chamber as well. And I think we're still waiting for our feedback on sort of that economic development section. I think that's an area where Kona has, experienced a lot of growth, and a place where you folks need to give us your feedback on how you're feeling about that chapter. So those are some general comments, Nancy. And otherwise, I'm happy to, dive in deeper with you. I think it works better if you guys give me, rather than my interpretation of what's important to you, some of the topic areas that are, of importance that we can go through together.
I guess what I meant was you're more familiar probably with the general plan than anybody. And you probably, from your planner perspective, what do you think is captured in this draft that could have the potential to have the most impact on Kona specifically, that from your perspective and because of your expertise on the plan, rather than asking what we should comment on, I was more wanting your perspective on what you think could have the most impact on us that we should be educated to. I guess that was what my request had to do with.
Sure. And I think I stick to those same things. I think the land use map is really important for the Kona area. There's a lot of places still for potential growth, and definitely need for infrastructure capacity and development there along with those places. So I think that land use map is really important for Kona. And again, sort of the economic development strategies, making sure that we are providing space for innovation, but also, appropriate limits on potential impacts. So those are, again, from my sort of view of island wide, I think those are the things that Kona needs to spend some time making sure that you're providing feedback on.
I had a question. Bethany, is Charlie. When I first came on to the committee, the county had indicated that the two major areas of growth are going to be in Puna and Ocean View. Is that still the prevailing sort of thought based on permits, or I don't know how you base that? I'm just thinking because, Ocean View really affects South Kona.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in 2016, we did some population and job forecasts, and that was based on the best available information at that time. We updated that this last year based on the 2020 census information to show where folks are pretending to go. And so those places are still experiencing a high rate of growth. Mainly, I'm assuming because of the affordability draw to those places. However, I would say Waimea and North Kona are, also anticipated to experience that growth, and I can provide you those numbers. They've been included in the draft, but that's pretty significant. And I think when you start to think about, in the case of Hawaiian Ocean View Estates, they are existing lots. And so that's really a case of infill in those places. Whereas some of the places in North Kona that have potential for growth are really some of the greenfield within the urban areas. So those are sort of different impacts that we would look at when looking at development. But yeah, I would say that, those places are still experiencing that high rate of growth, but also Waimea and Kona are up there as well.
Okay, and that's North Kona specifically.
Yeah.
Committee, you have any other questions? No? Dave? Heather, Janice, let me get to the committee guys first.
Yeah. Perfect.
Dave or Heather, you have any questions for Bethany? No? Okay, Janice, you wanna go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, Bethany. Hi, everybody. Sorry, it's hard to tell online sometimes exactly what's going on. So sorry I wasn't there today. Was at work and had to go back. Bethany, one of the things that I've been hearing from my group lists is that there's been a lot of confusion about using the website. And I know when I tried it, my comments were showing somewhere else, but I could never see them. And still people have been, up until this week, I still got comments about how difficult it was to use the online platform. And so I just worry about, I know we have had an extension of GP already, the public process, but I don't know. I'm feeling like that we might be losing some people because they start it and they can't do it. And until you just said that about email comments being taken, I really didn't know that was possible. And I think the planning department was kind of discouraging that at the last public forum I was at. So I'm feeling like, we could have the hardcore people commenting, but be still losing more of the general public, and I mean, really smart people. I couldn't even believe, like, one gal who's like way more able to use IT and stuff. She wrote to me and just said she was just having such a hard time. The other thing is that, and I don't think this is private or not public, but I think, Bethany, because you're leaving or you're gone, I don't even know. I was surprised to see you here today, but I'm glad you're here. I think that since you've been, kind of the point person and been pulling this all together, that also gives me a little pause for wondering if we shouldn't extend the process, because you're so in the know, and I don't know how that's going to play out with other people. I know everybody's so darn busy and planning, and to catch up on the GP when there's so much else going on. I just worry about this process it's not being rushed. I can't say that since we had the extension, but at the same time, prematurely, closed off, and another thing that I had asked from you is, I know you were going to give you were doing a report of background. I've asked you, I know I've been bugging you, but like a comparison of what the past plan was, where parts came from in the new plan, and where they were derived. And I feel like that would be so incredibly helpful for all of us. It takes away a little of the legwork for people who don't have, the time or the capability to really dig into it. And even for those of us who have been onto it, it's just from your professional, standpoint, just having that input, I think, would still be really fabulous and so worthwhile, especially if you're not going to be around. And my last comment on this is that, I just see developments being approved all over the place, especially Puna and Kona, and infrastructure isn't in place. So I hope that somehow this is going to be addressed as a, more of a holistic thing, because I just don't think I don't think one hand knows what the other hand is doing all the time. The administration, like the planning commission's approving things, but we don't have the infrastructure. People are sitting, and I was in Puna in Hilo a couple of weeks ago, and I was just shocked at how long it took people 2 hours to get to KL. I mean, it was insane. And still something got approved while I was at the county council meeting, another development, a subdivision. So anyway, thank you so much. And I hope you had a nice vacation and you're relaxed. And thanks for your help.
Janice, is there any other questions or comments for Bethany? Nope. Nancy, yeah.
Janice, I just wanted to make one comment. I sent in my comments in a document. I wrote about 6 pages worth of comments, because a lot of it was sort of philosophical. It wasn't very user friendly as far as cutting and pasting into the website. So I just typed them up and sent them in. And I think they'd be hard to translate into the online system. I think some of them would, but a lot of them were too verbose, I would say.
Well, Nancy, I mean, I feel like that too, Bethany, and everyone, is that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, we can do that, but how much is going to be taken from that? Like, in the whole scheme of things, when you're looking at all these hundreds and hopefully thousands of comments, when we write something, how is that going to be integrated into it? Like, I'm just worried that that's going to get lost. And like Nancy, I mean, I do feel like it's a lot of philosophical stuff and innuendo and, like just parts that are just not that clear, but still that we've discussed for so long and still seem integral to good planning and a good general plan.
Thank you. Bethany, I had another comment. Based on the governor's proclamation, the emergency proclamation, how much of that has been incorporated into the land use policies for the within the general plan? Maybe not adopted, but perhaps used.
Yeah, the proclamation itself has not been incorporated because we were already out with our draft when that information came out from the governor. However, definitely our planning director has been working with the administration on how to implement that proclamation regarding affordable housing. And what was the last thing I heard? It's challenging, right? I think they've had one development that's sort of gone through underneath that proclamation so far. I think it was on Oahu. So, obviously governor's trying to do his best to get affordable housing and prioritize that, but that doesn't make it happen, right? We need financing and we need willing partners. So those components are definitely included in this draft in the housing section, but nothing specifically from that proclamation.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other questions for Bethany. Should we congratulate you, Bethany? I know I read something. Congratulations, anyway. Any other questions?
Charlie,
No. Yes.
can I just ask that more clearly? Bethany, are the comments that people are making, written comments, how are they going to be integrated into that whole milieu that you have?
Yeah, so Charlie, if I can just address that question. The Conveyo platform, there's several components to it as to why we're using it. One of them is that we can generate reports quickly that summarize the comments, and we are able to sort through them and do things much more quickly than hand keying in, which is what we did in 2019. So that's why we're pushing that platform. We understand, obviously, that again, there has been comments made that are outside of the platform. And so, as I mentioned, staff are inputting those into the platform so that they can be included in the same reports. And then that package ultimately of all the comments will be included as it goes through the adoption process. And so, again, I'm being open and transparent about all the comments that were received. It'll probably be a combination of reports from the Conveyo platform and then sort of the PDFs of the other comments that came in through email and other ways.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions.
I thought of one more. Bethany, can we still address general plan questions to you, or are you out of it now as far as being a source of questions and answers?
I am still here. I'll be making some kind of an announcement when we have a date as to when I'll be transitioning. But also just encourage folks to use the general plan email because that goes to the entire team. And so regardless if I'm out or Mariam is out, we all get that email. So just encourage folks to use that email rather than my email going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, then why don't we move on to the approval of the, what was it, the September 12th? Minutes of the September 12th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve and then second and we'll discuss?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
I
I'll
move
second.
to approve.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Nancy, did you put these together? Is that what we're?
Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
It was great with the recording. That system worked really well.
Okay, if there's no comments, amendments, or corrections, I'll just call for the question. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I think that's
Aye.
unanimous. Thank you. I think that's unanimous. So the minutes have been approved. Next we do the public testimony on agenda items. I don't know what went online, but I was gonna take ours here first. But so you didn't indicate which item you wanted to testify on?
I don't have the agenda,
You don't have the agenda? Do we have a copy?
so I don't know.
Just needs to identify herself.
Oh, yeah. Sue, can you identify yourself, please? I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe she should sit up here.
My name is Sue Aronson. I own Kona Coast Realty, been a realtor in West Hawaii for over 43 years. And I have been concerned forever on the Kealakekee wastewater that is entering the harbor. Earth Justice is in litigation with the County of Hawaii. And on Wednesday, we're going to be discussing it at the County Council again. But also just to share, because this involves planning and policymaking with regards to the general plan. This is a map of North Kona watershed floodways. And this is South Kona. And these things need to be addressed. I have created Kona Ridge to Reef Institute, building community resilience with nature-based solutions. I am working with HIEMA, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, and FEMA. And they sent me, as a follow-up to 2 years ago, I went to a US Coral Reef Conference, grants available with federal funding opportunities from NOAA, FEMA, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and EPA and HUD. And I prepared a recap of their outline, and I will pass it out to all of you. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, it's not specifically agendized that way, Susan, but if you feel it should be, maybe that's something we should allow time for at some point for you to present all of this.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm done.
For
So
today.
it has,
Yeah.
it has to do with open space.
Right,
And
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think,
so I'm looking, I guess I'm looking forward to creating like a subcommittee.
okay, well,
So it could be
Is-
added to next month's agenda,
we can
because
add
that
it to the
material
agenda.
could then be
Okay.
provided for the public
Yeah.
and distributed to all the members who are on Zoom and in person, and they'd
I
have
will
time
do
to
that.
review it. And if
Okay.
you're able to attend at the next meeting,
Sure.
it will be on the agenda.
great, yeah, because I think wastewater is a big issue. I don't know. Is there anyone else from the public that wants to provide comment on any of the agenda items? Please, if you do, then can you state the agenda item, your name, and I don't know which sequence to take it in. Do we have people?
We have Jen.
Oh, Janet's hand.
Is there somebody else who wants to talk before I do?
Yours is the only hand I can see.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to just mention about the agendas. I think it was item 2 about officers and choosing the chair and co-chair. And I wanted to say that, first of all, I thought on the agenda, it didn't look like there was that wasn't on the agenda. It looked like we were talking about general planning, the general plan. It looked like the chair and co-chair, we're going to talk about, I thought it was a little unclear, so I don't know if that was agendized properly. But also I just wanted to say this is a really important position, and that I've spoken to this before, but I really hope that whoever offers to be chair and co-chair takes it seriously and really commits to being at the meetings. It's, I've just seen, especially with a couple of members, just it's a chronic lack of attendance. And that just isn't the right people for this position. Charlie, you've done a fantastic job, and I just want you to keep going. But anyway, short of that, I'm sure someone else can do a great job too, but they just have to really commit to being there at the meetings because I think historical knowledge is really important. Attendance is super important, and overall view as representing the community is what's also critically important. And being able to run the meetings, of course. Some people are really committed to being there like I was, but I couldn't run a meeting. So thanks again. I hope you choose some people that will really be able to help move us forward.
Thanks, Janice. I'm sure that's going to be part of the discussion when we get to it. Any other person online that wish to provide comment, testimony on any of the business items? No one? Okay, so we'll get into the business portion. The first is the training on permitted interaction group. I still can't speak. And the duties and responsibilities of the community development plan action committee, and presentation by Deputy Corporation Counsel. Suzanne?
Aloha. Aloha to everyone who's online. If at any point you can't hear, please let me know, because I'm happy to increase my volume, speak more slowly, or articulate better. I often used to attend by Zoom, and I often struggled to hear what was happening in the room. So please put a comment in there, and staff will flag me if for any reason you can't hear. I will be relatively brief. I do want to answer, before I start, a specific question that was posed by this committee to our council. And we did explore with OIP, Office of Information Practices. So we do have sort of an official legal answer for you. And the question was, 2 to 4 board members want to attend a neighborhood board meeting or a meeting of any other entity to give a presentation that involves board business. Can you do it? The answer is 2 board members can give a presentation regarding board business without prior board approval at a neighborhood board meeting or a meeting of any other entity, as long as no commitment to vote is made or sought, and there's no requirement that you report back. So 2 board members can go out and participate and educate and really create sort of a vibrant sense of participation within your respective communities. If you want more than 2, the rules change. So if 3 to 4 board members want to give a presentation at the meeting of another organization, at another entity, without prior board approval, you can do so, but you have to report back to the board at the next meeting. So I hope that offers some clarity, because I know there was a real desire by your board members to be active in the community, to do outreach, to participate, and to generate sort of a network, and to ensure that this committee reflects community participation. So we answered that specific question. We'll also provide this answer to you in writing. So you have this answer with legal citations in writing. Nancy?
And this specifically had to do with official board business issues, right?
Yes.
So that's a significant,
Departure.
yeah, well,
previous
board
guidance.
business is a lot different than talking about like if 4 of us happen to be at a public meeting that has we want to talk about something that has nothing to do with board business, we can do it.
Yes, and I'm gonna walk right through, right now through, you've got 3 documents that I provided, communication. So part 1 is pretty general. It's part 2 and part 3 that specifically,
Can I interrupt you just for a
yes,
second? You have a note here about executive session. I wonder if you might explain that? Because some people may not be familiar with what executive session is. It's in the minutes. I mean, I read it, so.
okay. If you would like to have a private discussion where you ask me for legal advice, and anytime you're asking for legal advice, you can do that in executive session. You just need to indicate to the chair that you're asking for legal advice from your counsel, and I represent the county. So I represent you when where your interests reflect your service to the county as a committee member. Should you like to have this presentation or any presentation, or frankly, any legal advice, all you have to do is indicate to the chair that you would like to ask your counsel for legal advice. And then we excuse the members of the public and those on Zoom. And it would be a private meeting just for our committee.
Thank you.
Is there a request for executive session?
Not for me.
Okay. And I'm checking, I don't see anything from any of our committee members online. Anytime there is a request for legal advice, you can call your attorney, and that would be Michelle On. If she's not available, you will be forwarded to me. But you can also request it in the middle of a meeting, should you need that. Was that enough of the?
That's very good explanation. Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't know whether committee members or the members of the public were aware of that in case we do call for one.
And you can, at any point in time, and other than asking for legal advice, you just say, I would like to ask our attorney for legal advice. And you don't have to articulate it anything beyond that. So there were 3 documents forwarded to everyone. The 3 documents are documents that are available to you online. They're prepared by the Office of Information Practices. So these are actually public documents, which is why I use them. So you'll never get conflicting advice from me. So I'm going to talk about number 2. And they're sort of funny. They're called Who Can Board Members Talk to and When? So I'm going to talk to you about part 2 and part 3. And I'm going to walk through examples. I'm not going to do it rapid fire because I really do want to offer clarity. I recognize you've got a lot to do today, but I think there's been a lot of confusion. Also, please know that the legal landscape changes. And it can be very frustrating when you learn a set of rules and then the rules change on you. We feel the same way, but I don't control the legal landscape. So as the landscape changes, we then provide updates to you. So selection of board officers, for example, selecting the chair, selecting the vice chair, 2 or more board members may discuss that at any time. You guys can talk about, you can't commit to a vote and say who, say, I want you to vote. You can't have the discussion about a vote, but you can inquire who's interested, who wants to do it. It's a lot of time. Are you available? You can discuss the selection of board officers. And without limitation, and you don't have to report back to the board. So that's an immediate area where you are allowed to talk to each other and you're not in violation of sunshine. Number 2, and I'm on the document number 2, page 1. It's just the procedure. If you don't have quorum, and last month we didn't have quorum, you're allowed to accept testimony. You can ask a question of the presenter, but you can't discuss amongst yourself. It tends to not be a very productive or useful meeting, and it can be frustrating for both the committee members and individuals in the public, because you're not actually allowed to do anything when you don't have quorum. Okay, informational meetings, and I've highlighted quite a bit of this. I also tried to provide that answer when I first started. 2 members of a board, less than a quorum, may attend an informational meeting on matters relating to official board business. And then it gives a number of different examples. Meeting of another entity, legislative hearing, convention, seminar, community meeting. The only sort of boundary is that it can't be a meeting that they design just for you. It actually has to be another meeting, the meeting of another organization. They can't say, oh, you want to come and present to us, let us create this forum. Okay. If there's more than two, you do have to come back and report to the board. So to circulate proposed legislative testimony, there's a specific exception to sunshine that allows you to try to meet legislative deadlines. Remember, most legislative testimony is published. You have 4 days, 5 days, 6 days to respond. So there's a specific carve out for a committee, board, or commission to respond to legislative testimony. And that's number 4. And number 5, you can talk to the governor, as many of you, anytime you want. That is not a violation of sunshine law. You may also talk to the planning director anytime you want. Any number of committee members can discuss with both the governor and the planning director matters of board business. You're not in violation of sunshine. Okay, the third document, who can board members talk to and when? The permitted interaction group, we call them pigs. There's at least one of our committees that doesn't like the word pigs, and lots of people are offended by the word pigs, but it is sort of the term of art. One of our groups refers to them as pings. Let's talk about a ping. First of all, if you only have one committee member leading an initiative out in the community, doing outreach, holding meetings, that doesn't violate sunshine. So you don't need a permitted interaction group for that. There's often a lot of confusion around an initiative. And if one committee member is out there generating participation, talking about the committee, that's excellent. That's everything you're supposed to do. And it does not violate sunshine. There is no need for a pig. The only reason you create a pig is if you want multiple committee members to meet and talk. And we will talk about the process by which you establish a pig. It requires 3 meetings. At the first meeting, you establish the permitted interaction group. And it has to have a fairly specific purpose. It can't be something broad. For example, I am concerned about the beaches. Or I want to take care of our kupuna. And these are all examples that other committees have explored when they were setting up pigs. That is far too broad. It has to be fairly specific. We want to look at a parcel of land. We want to talk about use, open space. There has to be some way to bound what that group is doing.
Like investigate something specific.
And Nancy's suggestion right now, I don't know if you could hear it online. She, asked if it was to investigate something specific. Absolutely. And typically, if you think of a pig, what you're thinking of is what action will the committee take? Not just generically, we want to know more information, but is there an action on the other side of that pig? The committee should then do, or have enough information to act. And the committee may not act, but when you're thinking about the purpose, you're really thinking about what could this committee do? What would they do? What should they do? So you have to have a very specific purpose. It needs to be articulated at the first meeting, and you articulate who's going to participate up to quorum. So you have to have less than quorum. Okay. At the second meeting, so at that first meeting, you form it. At the next meeting or at a subsequent meeting, that group comes back and reports what they did. They may not finish it by the next month. Maybe it takes 6 months. The minute they report back on what they've done, the pig is immediately dissolved. So this does reflect sort of that evolving legal landscape that frustrates everyone. In the past, it was fairly common for pigs to say, we aren't finished. We've talked to 5 people. We need to talk to 10 more, a mini update. OIP is very clear. We have case law. You absolutely are not allowed to say anything except we're going to continue to next month. You can't report what you did in any way, shape, or form. The minute you report what you investigated or how, the pig is dissolved. So at the second or subsequent meeting, you report back, and the committee, this is why pigs are a little frustrating, the committee can't actually do anything. They hear it, they can't act. They can't even really discuss it. At the third meeting, And the reason for this is the public is supposed to be on notice. The public should have the information that's provided. You know, we attach that report to the next meeting agenda. So everyone in the community knows what's on the table, what's going to be discussed, what the pig did. And at that third meeting, you then have the vibrant discussion that you probably wanted to have at meeting number 2. So at the third meeting, you can discuss and the committee can act. So that's the parameters of a pig.
Question then?
Yes,
Before the very first meeting to have that, to bring up the pigs, only 2 members can discuss the fact that they might want to have a pig before we get to that first meeting.
only 2 members outside of this forum. Within this forum, this is actually where you can and hopefully are talking all of the time.
Okay.
This is exactly the kind of forum where you can talk. Yes, Nancy?
Charlie, then you can clarify me if I'm wrong. I think that if 3 people came up with a new idea that's never made it to the agenda, if it's not official business yet, 3 people could talk about it. It wouldn't be official business unless it showed up as official business at some point on an agenda. Isn't that right? Like if 3 committee members who were sitting in a coffee shop and they said, well, why don't we think about forming a pig? You know, the 3 of them are sitting, and it's nothing that's ever appeared on an agenda of any sort by the committee before. And then they'd say, then they'd have to come to this body and initiate it. But that initial discussion of something that isn't ever been official business, 3 of them could talk about. Wouldn't that be correct?
I will advise you, and I'm going to go ahead and read from OIP. Members should note that the Sunshine Law expressly states that no permitted interaction should be used to circumvent the spirit or requirements of sunshine. So one of the questions is 3 members sitting at a coffee shop discussing things that are tentatively peripherally related to board business is possibly a problem. You can talk with 2 people, but the minute you start talking with 3, why are we talking about something that becomes board business?
But
In
maybe
the
it
first
would take
place.
the 3 of them to decide that it should be board business. So then they say, hey, let's bring it up let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, I guess my concern was that if it's one person's idea and they bring it to the board for discussion, then you should have a spirited discussion, obviously, but then it's brand new it's brand new and they're gonna be unprepared. And that's my concern. If 2 people can do it, it can have that discussion before we agendize it, then I think there'll be, I think what I would be comfortable with bringing it to the committee was that it was something that's likely to happen because there's a need for it and there's gonna be a consensus within the group. Otherwise, it's just my idea. So I don't know, but if it's 2, then it's 2.
I'm most comfortable with 2.
Yeah.
With your scenario, you absolutely are skirting the edges. Because it's hard to see 3 people talking about something that all of a sudden becomes board business.
Well, there's going to be a clear definition of board business, and it seems like if people are talking about it before the fact, then it isn't board business yet. It's a very confusing concept to me, because almost anything in the CDP is board business because it has to do with the whole district. So, but on the other hand, if it's never been brought to the body before, it's premature.
The point of sunshine is so that those discussions happen. And it is awkward to have them for the first time. I
Yeah.
absolutely understand that. 2 can discuss. The minute you have a third, it becomes problematic. And I will leave it at that.
So a single board member should just, or no more than 2 can propose it for the agenda so that for the first discussion, so that the public's aware that there may be a pig being formed.
And also the other strategy too for sharing information is if you provide it to planning, a document to planning about, for example, the material that was just shared with us by a public testifier, then everyone's on notice that that's going to be discussed. So at least you're putting it in people's minds that this is a possibility. So it's a way of sharing information that also is shared with the public. It's attached to the agenda, the same way I attach these documents so that everyone has it It's done openly, available to the public, and it's then available for the agenda.
Well, I could just see three people standing around at Costco and all of a sudden getting an idea and saying, hey, let's get planning to put this on the next agenda. There are three of them standing there, but it's like a spontaneous. Hey, Charlie, will you see if they'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting?
I think I've answered.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think we're probably going to be discussing this at length. Are there questions online? Because I know I also have committee members online, and I
So
don't want to overlap.
if we are in a pig, we're allowed to talk as a group as long as we report back that we had a conversation.
Absolutely. You're allowed to talk as a group. You're allowed to investigate up, within the parameters of whatever you set your pig up for. It has to be towards that purpose. And then you report back to the group. And when you report back, the pig is then dissolved.
Right. So that's the part that confuses me because I don't know. I think a lot of projects aren't gonna be able to get worked out between one board meeting. So it just seems like almost like just a bureaucratic step.
So here-
I wanted to understand maybe the reason behind it. Maybe then it'll make more sense.
The reason behind it is that all those discussions should be happening here. And the preference of our sunshine law is that those discussions happen here. And they've carved out a few pretty narrow exceptions. The pig is one. Let me share with you some of the strategies that other communities are using. So
Yeah.
not every huge project is going to be finished in a 1 month period, which is why you could have like 6 months for a pig to be working on something. As long as you don't report back to the committee, your pig can still operate. So you could work on something for 6 months, 4 months, as long as you need. There's probably a point where no one remembers anymore. So more than 6 months, I'd kind of question, but you don't have to finish it within a month. The other strategy that some committees are using is they have one person working on a project for 2 to 3 months, or even 2 people for 2 to 3 months, and then they hand it off to 2 other people or 1 other person. So say they need a specific skill set, or they need to access one person's network, that leader would take charge for a 2-month period and then turn it over to someone else. And you basically take the same structure and work with a different segment of your community. But they basically hand it off. So that's a strategy that some groups are doing. Less than 3, so 1 to 2 people can do almost anything, as long as they don't commit to a vote. And then sometimes when you do need 4 or 5, because you need different levels of expertise, you want to reach different networks, you have groups where they hand off a project to someone else. Like they'll work like you're there for the first quarter, and then it turns it over to someone else for second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, so that you engage many of your committee members, but we're not in violation of sunshine because you only had 1 or 2 people leading it on any given point in time.
Leading it or involved in it.
So when you establish the pig, you have to establish at the same time who the members are. And what you're suggesting is one member can hand it over to another member.
Actually, what I was
Pig.
suggesting just now is not a pig. And
Yeah.
I don't know, is Miriam trying to talk? Because I see Miriam talking, but I don't know if she's talking to us. Can someone check with Miriam?
I think she's talking to someone else. I don't think she's talking to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know if maybe her thing wasn't on mute.
She might be in a room with other planners who are on the call, but they have their cameras on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have 1 or 2 people turning it over, it's not a pig. If it's one person, it's not a pig at all. It's one person, an initiative, and
Right.
hallelujah. If you have 2 people, it's still not a pig. A pig is, 3, 2 or
Yeah.
yeah,
more
pig
than.
allows for more than 2, in other
Right.
words.
So, but the pig, when you establish the pig, the members have to be announced who they are.
Yes.
It's not new people coming in or people going off.
Nope.
So it's the pig, the original group is all the the manpower you're gonna get, right? But can we delegate some of that then to the community to do work for you?
The community can do anything. So if you have one committee member and 3 members of the community, that doesn't violate sunshine.
Right.
So you can have a group of, a group of 6 people where one of your committee members and 5 really energetic people in the community participate. And that doesn't in any way violate sunshine. The only control sunshine has is when a committee members talk.
Right.
And to be honest, you can do a lot without pigs. You can vote, you can have actions, you can get involved. It's just that these meetings tend to be a whole lot more dynamic because all of the creation, discussion, weighing of options, debate happens here.
Yeah, I'm just from reading this and digesting it, I don't think that pigs aren't really very useful for many things.
The pigs tend to be-
Literally interpreted.
Yeah, they tend to be pretty focused, and what some of the other committees have done is they broke down really huge projects into small pieces. And said, for this beach park, for this issues of access, that we're gonna create a pig for these 3 people. And 3 people are gonna go off and research that one very narrow piece. And there's like 7 other pieces, possibly other pigs, but it's pretty narrow.
In reporting back, then the pig, when we're closing, or the intention is the project's finished. The pig can engage someone from the general public to do the presentation as well, or help
Yes.
in the presentation.
Yes, and some pigs have done that. They've gone out, for example, to water supply and had water supply come in and present. And so anyone can present that report, the final report, it doesn't always have to be. Like the pig could just be to educate the board about an issue, and then,
So that's,
someone else can come in and report. I don't know if I've answered all your questions, and I hope I haven't created more questions than I've answered. Yes,
It
Nancy?
seems like the Open Space Network group was a legitimate pig, although they didn't know it. It seems like it was a specific goal that they had was to actually get funding for a consultant was what they did, but it took years, and they were reporting back because they didn't know at that point, but it seems like that was a narrow enough goal. And now their purpose is pretty much finished from a pig's definitions perspective, but it seemed like that was narrow enough. Because that was their goal, is to take the Kona CDP policy and get the planning department to fund a consultant to take it from there, and they accomplished that.
Yes, and hopefully someone other than our committee members is now running that. That way we're not in violation of sunshine.
I think I'm the only member on it left that's
Okay.
on the action
I
committee.
was on it too.
Oh, you're on it
Yeah,
too? Okay,
but
so there are
actually,
2 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the 4 pigs that no longer exist, community outreach, Kalakahe, Kona open space, public access open space, I'm gonna turn it back over to Charlie for you to discuss whether you want to create new pigs or whether you want to sort of digest today's presentation and then next month create them as needed.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
Just about how to represent ourselves. Like if we're working on a project that doesn't have a permitted interaction group, we're trying to reach out to someone like like a council person or something. Are we allowed to say, I'm a member of this committee, when we're talking to people? Because that's what I was confused about that. I thought we couldn't represent ourselves like on this committee, but if we had a permitted interaction group, we said part of this permitted interaction group.
That's a great question. And the terrible answer that you get from every lawyer you ever talk to is going to be, it depends.
Okay.
I am so sorry, but it depends on what you're trying to say.
Mhm.
If you're saying we are the Kona Action Group and here's what we're doing, absolutely, you're a member. If you're articulating a position of the committee should have approved that position. So it depends on what you're saying.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons you have my phone number and my email is you folks can call, or actually we'll have Michelle's, but you'll have one of us. You can call us at any point in time to say, here's what I want to do. What are some boundaries? Like what should I do? How do I do this? And it's our job to try to provide that clarity for you.
Yeah, I guess my specific question was related to say information gathering, say like I'm on this committee, I'm looking for some specific information. Is that?
You can absolutely do
Okay.
that. I am a committee member on this committee, and we're trying to collect information. We would like input. Absolutely.
Like, can I bring up your example? Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this board sanctioned him to go out and try to see whether he could find out why Kalakahay Park Regional Park hasn't moved forward. And so the group approved to let him go seek out information. So it seems like that'd be very legitimate for him to represent the committee, saying the committee has voted to get me to see how we can get the lead out of this project and move forward. So don't,
And with clear committee action, especially if there's a vote, you absolutely have the
And there
will of the
was.
committee because it's in the minutes.
Okay.
So that you very clearly have the will of the committee behind you. Yes, that's a
what I-
good example. I am not going to take any more of your time, but I'm happy to answer questions as they come to you. I know they normally come to you afterwards when you've got a specific question in front of you. So I will turn it over to Charlie, but please know that all 4 of the pigs have been dissolved
Okay.
because they were officially dissolved the minute those reports came in.
Okay, so for the purpose of this committee, meeting, we can only decide to have one, we can't vote on one.
You can, now that they're dissolved, if you can have any action you want. And that actually is a great question because there was the perception a lot of committees had was that you could only act based on a pig. You can have motions every single meeting on multiple topics. The only reason you need a pig is so that committee members can talk outside of the meeting. But you could have a motion right now on the regional park or on the open space network. Like someone could say, I'm really concerned about this. If it's on the agenda, you can talk about it, you can agendize it, and you can act as a committee. So you can act on anything with that, and you don't need a pig to do it. The pig is only needed if you guys want to talk outside of a public meeting. And the real question is, they really want you to talk in the public meeting because then the public gets to be a part of it. So I'm Pal.
Thank you.
Well, this is very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks for
Clear
coming
as
over
mud.
For a second time.
No worries.
I didn't think there was that much industry. So I would defer, I think, on each one of these to the folks that actually help organize the pig in the first place as to whether there's reasons for, continuing them. The outreach, I think, speaking personally, the outreach, I think, is probably a good thing to do because the general plan is still in the process. And I think that was what we were trying to do in the outreach, was make sure that a lot of that got out and back. That's
As far as my involvement with what I wanted to do with the community outreach, so-called PIG or subcommittee, I don't think it's an appropriate topic for a PIG because it was my intention for coming to you guys to form it was a very broad, multi-purpose. It was more of a subcommittee from a subcommittee sense. And so I think if those of us that are interested in that project, we'd have to come back to incremental, very specific tasks and rotate through, because I think the general scope of it was extremely broad. And I don't think from her definition of a pig, I don't think it is applicable. As much as I hate to say it, because it's a lot of the reason why I joined this committee is to pursue those issues, but it doesn't sound like a pig to me.
May I respond?
yes.
Some groups do actually have subcommittees where they follow sunshine
Sunshine.
and they post it, they have a meeting, they do outreach.
So it'd have to be, I think it would have to be more of a subcommittee format rather than a pig in this case.
Or 1 or 2 people can just do your
Yeah.
outreach.
Yeah, without a pig or a subcommittee.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think originally we were trying to find alternatives to having the quarterly meetings. And we felt that subcommittees, we weren't calling them pigs at that time, had more opportunity to meet in between because the county couldn't stand it. So that's the very reason why we place such importance on it. So I think your explanation, and when we reach cadence, hopefully we'll be meeting more often, then won't be a need for that. So
Like
as far as-
April said, subcommittees should be where the heavy lifting takes place, so we have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, so there's, as far as the community outreach, we can just leave that dissolved, I guess, because there's no action needed once it's not there. What about the regional park?
I think that's pretty straightforward. I'm the only one on it, so we can just dissolve. We don't need to worry about that. Sounds like I can do everything I was hoping to do without one of the.
Okay. What do you feel about the open space network?
I think we're on it, so there are only two of us, and there's gonna be a meeting later this week with non-action committee members to get an update. And so I think the pig is probably dissolved as soon as the contract got handed over to the private consultant.
There's no need to.
No, and then two of us can report back. Are you going to the meeting on the 11th?
I actually didn't know about that meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how it's said, but did we get?
I guess they didn't have you on the list.
Yeah, maybe not, but I will go.
Okay,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't, you don't know about it?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the consultant sent out to the people that they thought were on it. And so we can give a report back to the full
Okay.
committee.
And the open space, I mean, the park.
I don't think that ever got formed. Somebody told me that they didn't think that actually ever got formed,
Yeah,
that there was never a chair.
but that's one of those general things too, because park is just ongoing unless you got a specific project you're working on, so. Okay, so we can consider these four dissolved. Yes, so. In terms of reforming a pig in the future, we need to have that discussion presented
On the
and
agenda.
agendized. And then we create it. Form the board members or form the members of it, and then you vote on it the next time.
No, you can,
We can vote on
You
it that time.
pass a motion to form the pig.
Yeah.
You act to form the pig, you select the members, you articulate the purpose, then you send them off to go and be productive.
Okay.
And the only vote is at the end, after they report back, if the committee wants to act. And if it's any comfort, my office with 12 attorneys, we sit around and discuss this for hours every month.
Yeah.
So we just don't ever seem to finish this either.
Okay, so Heather or David, you any more comments on these pigs or questions for clarity?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Heather,
No,
okay,
I don't have any.
okay, so. I'm gonna I don't know if anybody from the public wants to comment on them. If not, I'm just gonna close this item then. And we'll go on to item 6. Oh, sorry, under business number 2, which is the nomination and election of committee chairperson for 2024. What is the pleasure of the committee?
How does this discussion normally work? Look at this.
You kind of get like. I don't know how it works. I'm
Yeah,
the
okay.
chair. I wish I could tell you, because I don't think there is a process. Generally, when there's chairs and vice chairs, and we were meeting on a monthly basis, it was almost assumed that the vice chair was gonna take the chair. So when we nominated both,
Mhm.
you could see the succession planning happening. And this kind of fell apart, during the COVID, because we weren't meeting as often. The chairs were not able to attend. Then we had some changes, I think, in even the board members, or the committee members. So we were losing people and adding on people, and we just never got to it. So I've been chairing the meetings, substituting. I don't even know if I'm the vice chair, but I've been substituting
Okay.
because I've held those, I've done it before. My concern is that I'm terming out. I don't know when, maybe a couple of years, it depends. But, so I was, really looking at trying to get that succession plan. I've been asked if I would stay on as the chair, at least until we can get more institutional sort of, more institutional knowledge on,
Yeah.
and what have you. Nancy's back, though she's been on for a while as well. So I don't think we're as new as we once were. So I think that's where it's at. So.
So
who
are
our
you
leaders?
unwilling to be chair?
I'm willing to be.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just because of, well, because of continuity, but I'm not willing. I'm also wanting to see the fact that we get an active vice chair as well too.
Well, you do a good job running the meetings. But,
Yeah,
Well, thanks
I
for
agree.
that, but
Yeah.
it is.
I mean, that takes a certain kind of, like Janice pointed out, it takes a certain skill that's a different skill than bringing issues up in the meeting. Running the meeting is a sort of a facilitator skill,
Mhm.
and you're good at that.
So what's the board suggest? What's the committee suggest?
I move that Charlie remain, I would move from vice chair to chair.
Yeah, I would second that, nominating Charlie for the chair.
Okay, so it's open for discussion. We have a move in a second. Heather, even,
I think if you're willing, it's a great idea if you're open to that. Which it sounds like you are.
I'm okay, yeah.
I was chair, right? So do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I don't know if we can do them both at the same time.
Can't do them at the same time. We need to finish one and then do the second.
Oh,
And this is for 1 year? Is that right?
For 2024, it says.
Okay.
It's only 11 and a half months.
So
Oh.
it wrote like after the end of the year, it changes every year.
That's been the, I think it's actually written in the rules, yeah. So usually every January or every December, we have that discussion, and in the January the votes occur. Okay, so is that settled or,
So you're gonna call for the question?
yeah, well, I asked the question, I thought I did. So all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, so vice chair. Who's missing today?
Who's gonna nominate?
Not that I'm nominated, no, I just wanted to make sure that we have, take full advantage of knowing who's actually on the committee. Oh, I've lost track.
Marissa and Gary.
and Zareen recently resigned.
Yeah, she resigned, so we were short one person.
And Ross
Rosalind did say
say
she
she was hoping to get on later on if she's able to. She said she had a prior engagement at 2:00.
So Zareen resigned, or
Yes.
Rosalind, Zareen resigned, and
Health
Rosalind,
issues, she said.
Was going to attend if she's able to. She said she had a prior engagement at 2 and was gonna try to catch the end of the meeting.
okay,
Gary is also absent.
I'm gonna nominate Nancy for vice chair, because she has some of that experience and I know her dedication.
Are you gonna pretty much come to all the meetings?
When you're vice chair, I'll answer that question.
Because if, I don't want to be vice chair if you're not gonna basically be running the meeting.
That, my intention is, I wouldn't have volunteered if my intention was to, but
And you'll have to put up with talking to me on the phone, That's a disadvantage to me being vice
we can
chair.
talk about that also.
Well, you need to think of the cost benefit analysis.
Well, you're an asset, though, I think it's fine, because you've been in the county for so long or worked with the county, so you must procedurally way advanced than I am, I think, so,
Yeah, and I'll second it.
yeah.
If you're willing, Nancy.
Well, as long as Charlie's mostly planning on assuming the active role as chair, then
yeah.
I'd be willing.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Heather, you have any comments, or David? Nomination is for Nancy for vice chair. If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're done there. 2024 is set. We go to communications now. Okay.
I'll just
You've
note,
already- we've
yeah, that I've already
done
discussed mine. Also, I would note that a material was provided to the committee members, but it was received today. Can I confirm with staff that it was received and forwarded today? When was it received? The written
Yeah, we got it.
testimony,
Uh,
it's dated January 8th.
They
It's-
submitted it on, they forwarded it to us Friday for people who had emails publicly, but I think we officially received it from the county today.
this one, Friday, the 5th.
At what time?
You know, at any rate, I would like to defer that anyway, because I haven't had a chance to read it, and I'm not so sure after getting into a discussion in this meeting.
Yeah.
I just need to-
Information that they provided.
1:12 p.m.
So it wasn't within the 48 hours that we need in order to get it to you in a timely manner, so you have time to review. So the written testimony for the Kona Development Action Committee will be deferred until next session.
I would like to have.
Do you have a topic though, other than just testimony? Because it's all over the map. Is this part of the general plan discussion?
It's commenting on the general. plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think we should. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
we
we
were
should-
talking earlier that maybe that should be the main agenda item for next meeting would
Yeah.
be the general plan and even if this body wants to provide any comments of our own.
I agree.
Do you think that's a good idea, Charlie?
Oh, yeah. I think we gotta get to it fairly
Yeah.
quickly if they-
We'll run out of
if they
time
pull
if
it
we
down.
don't.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bring my comments that I sent directly to the planning department and circulate them. In fact, I'll submit them so you can tear them apart if you want.
Right.
Do you
Um,
have a meeting set for next, like the next meeting?
I do not, but we were looking at trying to do it in the afternoons again. I believe this January 8th was sort of rushed because we weren't quorum last time, so I wanted to just get this thing over and done with. What is our cadence now? What's the I think there was a preference to getting this room, so that might be something that we need to consider. Time was always a problem for everyone.
Yeah, so we tried to have an earlier meeting for today, 2 to 4 p.m.
No, it's not a good idea.
Who's that?
Sorry, I wasn't muted, Charlie. Sorry. I do want to say something about the meeting times though, when you get a chance. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, let's see where we go with this and then,
The,
because, yeah, go ahead.
the meeting cadence so far has been every other month.
Mhm.
I believe it's. We have a tracker, so let me pull that up really quick.
Most committee members had issues with time and day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, we switched it to 2 because while 5 was better for reaching the public, the most important thing is to actually have the meetings. So
Yeah.
whenever we can make forums.
So during the September 12th meeting, the AC proposed to meet monthly or every other month, the third Tuesday of the month, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and have a hybrid option.
Right.
And then based on the actual meetings that occurred in 2023 and what the committee proposed at the September meeting, the planning department put together a cadence of every other month, third Tuesday of the month. And because we heard from committee members about the timing of these meetings, we tried 2 to 4 p.m. for today. I think that's still open to see what committee members can make in the future. And then this venue was preferred.
So the third Thursday, every other, third
Third
Tuesday,
Tuesday of
every other,
every other month.
okay.
The only thing I think about waiting for 2 months in this case is maybe we should have a meeting in a month just because of the topic, because the general plan is, comment period's gonna end.
I was interested in even revisiting to going monthly, like you guys suggested.
We-
Charlie. And I think with a lot of the stuff we've learned today,
Mhm.
maybe we should consider meeting monthly again, especially with the general plan coming up. and these-
And especially with the subcommittee issue not really being viable, but we were planning on using the extra month for subcommittee work, but
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
So I think we need to hook up with the staff now. What are your what are your feelings about, it? Because it was. Initially, I just made it hard on staff, but that was the COVID years, you know, so I'm not sure how well you staff, if we were to say, go back to a monthly cadence, at least for the time period before we get to the general plan, because there's a lot on the plate people want to talk about.
Right.
Does that work for you?
We can regroup as a team
Yeah.
and then look at our calendar because we tried to do the same thing for the other action committee.
No.
Plan out when they've actually met, what they propose, and then set up cadence for this year. So we can regroup with our team and then put out some proposed meeting dates for the year. We
But
can see how that would work on a monthly and right now you guys are every other month.
Right.
So
But we know they want to meet in February because the general plan is due, so we do need a February date.
yeah,
Yeah, I think,
Do you have a February date that does work? Or do you want to email people?
we should have a date. I can check the calendar and then
Okay.
send out the action.
yeah, and then we'll send out, and we need to then respond how that fits with our plans as well too. Because I don't want to have them
Couldn't
schedule.
hear what he said.
Yeah, so you're gonna send out a possible schedule for
Right.
day, if it's a Tuesday or day of the week, and time and venue here is what we're looking for. Yeah, but I think we need to respond to whether that's gonna be convenient for us, because we shouldn't. If we're not gonna get quorum.
Yeah.
You know, we really need to get consensus with all the
Okay,
committee members that they gotta commit to that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're gonna commit, we need.
okay.
Okay.
We have the proposed dates for an every other month. We can generate an every month cadence as well. And then priority I'm hearing is a February date ASAP.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
And
Sorry, excuse me.
whatever I-
Sorry, does the committee have any proposed dates for February that we can begin to work with to see? Or if there's like maybe a handful of, or a general. Kind of get that going.
could
Yeah, I
the
know.
same day of the week be,
Tuesday.
what we're gonna do, the third Tuesday or whatever it was, and
Is-
Yep, it's
Is that too close to your deadline?
to them? So for the general plan, the public review period closed on March 1st, but you all can individually submit comments like Nancy has done. We weigh that the same we value and weigh the same for every comment that we get from the public, whether it be an action committee member or a community member who's just interested and wanting to leave a comment in the plan. So that March 1st deadline is really for us to review the comments and synthesize what's been put out on Conveo. And you all can still email comments in following that. So we really encourage members to individually check out the plan. But if you want to hold a meeting to discuss your comments as a collective, that should be given more time than just if we had a February meeting on the 20th, it looks like. That would only leave you. less
February
than-
20th.
Yeah, if we stick to a Tuesday and the third Tuesday of next month, that wouldn't leave you with very much time.
So just to clarify, if we as a group we need to meet and talk about the general plans and our comments, not as individuals, but as the Kona CDP, we're going to do that as a group, like in the next meeting, as a working meeting, hashing out what we think about the general plan, the draft. So that would be like a working meeting.
We're,
I believe we should, but in order to do that, then all of us individually need to get online and get familiar with it. It's not something that's gonna be presented to us. It's something that we're gonna be presenting back to the planning department. So we really need to get as familiar as we can with the general plan and, list out maybe some of the things that we may have comments or concerns about. If we're to make the March 1st deadline.
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I think are really specific to Kona that should be brought up, but that I'll bring to this group. I won't
Right.
bring a bunch of stuff, but it has to be pretty targeted.
Right, and so the you mentioned the website, to go on. I haven't been on them. I haven't,
I can provide you the Conveo
yeah,
website.
okay.
But it's but that is the point of the next meeting would be for us to have a group discussion and come up with some group comments. And potentially if we need to have another meeting after that, we would be having these as working meetings, going through the general plan, what issues we have and talking about them together.
Correct, and we can make individual comments after March as well, but
Yeah, like if Conveo is not the preferred way to do that, you can email the general plan email and then staff will input.
Right.
But
yeah,
I don't have any questions about how to do it as an individual. It's more just clarifying that that's what we're trying to do as a group in our next meeting is as a
Yeah.
group respond.
because your comments as an action committee can be put in a letter that
Right.
the planning
Yeah.
department can
That's-
format, finalize.
That's what I was imagining.
right, what I think would happen, Heather, is that when we bring up the committee can reach a consensus as to what maybe the priority should be. And this is sort of what we've done before in the committee, and then we actually draft a letter to the planning department, to the planning director with that comments. So if you go in individually, you could have much more or even less, than what the committee might have concerns about, and it might be different priorities as well. So if we're gonna do it as a committee, then we probably need to establish what our priorities are. I think that would be appreciated by the planning department as well. So it'd be a working meeting then.
Yeah.
Considering the timing of all of this, I would also recommend that it's a something to, whenever that February meeting is, that each AC member comes prepared with what the comments that they're interested, that the AC will be voting on to collectively present to the planning director. So that this meeting is not necessarily to like hash out the entirety of the GP, but just the specific points of interest of the committee members relevant to the CDP and whatnot like that. Just in a timely way to make most of that meeting.
That's a good idea.
For an example, how it relates to the Kona CDP specifically. I mean, some of the stuff
Yeah.
in the general plan isn't necessarily targeted to, but they pulled stuff out of the CDP and put in the general plan. I mean, there's a very direct relationship in some cases, like TODs, for example. That doesn't show up, I don't think, in any other CDP except for Kona's, but they pulled that into the general plan. So that's very specific to us.
And
So should we-
are we allowed to share our comments beforehand with other committee members as long as we just do it one-on-one?
That's a good question for court counsel.
You can mail your comments. There's no prohibition on it, especially if it's public, available to the public. It could be, your comments can be forwarded to planning staff. The planning staff can attach them as a communication. That way everybody gets them. It's just the question is whether you're comfortable having those shared. So if you mail them to planning staff will attach them to the agenda and send it out to everyone. So they'd all have the benefit of being able to review it before the meeting.
Our own personal comments. So-
Questions?
Yeah, so, but are we I'm interested to hear what Nancy's are. Could she send hers to me and could we have a conversation about it?
Yes, but what you can't do is then talk to a third person because that's that serial communication that you're not allowed to do. So as long as you're only talking to one person, yes. The
Mhm.
minute you talk to a third person, you've just circumvented sunshine. And the
Mhm.
whole point of this meeting is that discussion is public.
Mhm.
Comment,
Yep.
but I've already submitted mine as public testimony, so that,
Yours can be shared as
yeah,
public.
because mine has already been submitted to the.
Yeah.
I was just using that as, yeah.
So that changes that because I've already submitted mine publicly, so I can give it to all of you.
Yeah.
And yours can be shared with everyone if you're willing to have it shared as part of the agenda. You know, have it actually shared.
Is she freeze?
I don't know.
Oh, she's moving. Yeah,
Okay.
Um,
I can't hear.
So should we meet in like earlier February then? First or second week of February?
Can you?
That would be a month from today.
Yes, and Tuesdays are preferred. So we have, the 6th is the first available Tuesday. I think we're just waiting, we can send out options for times. I'm not sure if 2 to 4 works for everyone. We tested it out today.
That's why we need committee members to respond, so that we assure ourselves we got quorum.
That thing you sent out last time that had the time slots was good.
Yeah,
If you
we'll
got
send out-
people to respond.
We'll
Yeah.
send out another doodle poll immediately to see availability for the 6th, Tuesday. Monday is also available. I know,
I think I have a conflict on the 6th, but I need to get back to my computer to confirm
Okay.
that. But if the Monday or the Tuesday works for everybody here, I prefer to go early too.
Since I'm out of school, I'm more flexible than I was before the middle of December.
yeah, we'll send out another doodle poll with multiple dates and times
Okay.
as soon as possible.
And you've got alternate weeks that you're not available at all, isn't that right, John?
Yeah, but if we meet, usually this 2 to 4 time slot works well to make someone work it or not. I can make 2 to 4. So,
Okay.
yeah, I actually don't know my schedule yet. The February, I get that out this week probably, but.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear from you. When we agendize the discussion, we can just say it's gonna be a discussion. We don't need to have bullet points as to what we're discussing specifically. With regards to the general plan.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating?
Yeah,
that?
so if we agendize this as a discussion on the general plan, then you're not to place it on the agenda. We don't need anything more specific as to, we're gonna talk about this in the general plan or that in the general plan.
I don't think so.
Okay. I anticipate and I hope it happens, we get some of the public weighing in as well too, because it's gonna be an open. I mean, we kind of like doing this for the public's benefit too. Okay. So we have time, date, agenda. We deferred this letter, but it's
Related to the general
related,
plan.
right? And I know Susan's work has been with watershed and what have you, which is, I'm not sure how that connects with the general plan, but I'm not so sure we have enough time on that, if we're gonna do general plan.
I
update.
couldn't hear what he was.
Yeah, I'm thinking, about the next agenda. If we do the general plan, I think it's gonna be,
I think that's gonna be it.
yeah, and this is part of it, so maybe we'll think about it with the agenda. Who do we work with? Who does the committee work with in terms of coming up with the agenda?
The CDP planning. Yeah, so that would be our community planning team. And our email is on our website, and I think you all should, that's where you receive the updates for the meetings, the meeting packet. So
Okay.
that's, yeah, so our team,
It says planning CDP,
yeah, CDP at hawaiicounty.gov.
okay. Okay. So that's all we have on the agenda, I believe. Oh, sorry, let's see something.
That big discussion was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you, that really got my mind straight of confusion. So we have tentative time and schedules and agenda items for the next meeting, okay? So I'll contact someone in planning when we get closer.
Okay.
And I would encourage committee members, once that goes out, to respond as quickly as possible to your availability on either the 5th or the 6th of February, as well as as well as the committee members who haven't been making it to the meeting. We need to, I can send something to you though, and you can send that out to the committee members.
Yes.
About. Alrighty, if there's no other business, we can move to adjourn. I'll move.
I'll second, Anthony second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting's adjourned. Thank you so much for being on the Zoom, Heather, David, and every member of the public and staff.
Thanks, staff, for all the work you're doing.
Yeah.
To make these meetings over here happen.
Let me keep this one.
Bye, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, you all.
Here you go, Janice.